I'm sure it's no longer news to anyone that we have the problem of rigging during election in Nigeria. And the question of how do we counter it is a very important one. And this is a conversation that we need to start having. First of all, the most effective way of countering rigging is to ensure that people come out en masse to vote. It is quite easier to rig when people don't turn up for election. So it makes it so easy. They can do what they want to do, change the numbers and all of that. We've seen that, but someone would say, but that didn't stop the rigging that happened in the 2023 election. Absolutely, I agree with you, but we're going to come there. You saw the rigging that they had to do. They did it from another angle and not from the streets that, from the polling units that like they would normally do, which is to say, oh, either ballot papers, some people will just come and turn print and then they will stuff the boxes. That sort of was mitigated by the Electoral Act, where people have to, what's that thing called now? People, you have to first of all be checked before, using the beavers to check and ensure that the accreditation, yes, accreditation has to be done. So that accreditation sort of had limited the issue where people just come and stuff ballot boxes with whatever number that they have. So we have that they can do. So the first thing, like I said earlier, make sure that turnout, if there's a large number of turnout, people come out, it's not easy for them to rig there. The next thing that we need to do is to ensure that there are agents at every polling unit. So what these agents do is that they will take in the number of the form that is filled, the number of people that were credited, the number of votes, how many votes were counted, and all of that, signed, everything. They are there, they sign, they hold their copy, which they bring back. Why am I saying that? Yes, that wouldn't stop the rigging like what we saw in the 2023 election, where the rigging was done from the umpire itself, where what happened, especially with the presidential election, was that why results were being the results were supposed to be shown on time, real time, on time, supposed to be coming out there, transmitted. The electronic transmission did not happen. So it did not happen for the presidential sheet for the presidential election. But the same day, there were 3 elections, senatorial election and the election for the House of Representative members. Those ones were, but the one for the presidency was stopped. And that was where the rigging happened. And of course, started changing numbers and all of that. And this is where the issue of agents come in. So like what we've seen now, we've seen the rascality from the Nigerian judiciary, where they are more in support of those who have rigged the election than they are in support of justice, right? And so what we must now do is to ensure that whatever they're doing, let's have every single result. In any sane country, you're supposed to have the umpire who was the one who refereed the election be the one who come and defend, for the burden of proof to be on them. But unfortunately in Nigeria, that's not what we have. The burden of proof is not on INEC. INEC, actually behaves in a very irresponsible manner. It doesn't listen to the court, even when the court asks them to bring in materials. Nothing. INEC is not asked to do anything. They are the ones who conducted the election and they didn't do it very well. They don't come to prove that, oh, they did the right thing. Rather, it is the person who had been rigged out that is told by the court to come and prove that actually he was rigged out. And you expected, like from the last thing that we've seen with the court, where they were insisting that, oh, the people who the petitioners had to bring practically all the agents, you understand, across the nation from that little number of days that they had to file their case. So what we must now do, yes, whatever it is, no problem. We'll follow the system, we'll follow the issue. Get agents across all of them, at least 2, 3, not just one agent, 2, 3. Yes, they are the main official agents, backup agents and all of that, so that they are in all of the polling units, be able to get that sheet, and that sheet is kept in a safe place, so that when you go to the courts, let's see what the courts are going to come up with this time. So that will sort of mitigate it. The other thing that you would think about us also would be, if we get to a place we need to have the laws changed, that will also now mean the members of the National Assembly doing that. We need to have another electoral act reform, so that in this case, what we now have to do would be to say that certain things need to be said. The burden of proof needs to be on INEC. INEC needs to be the one to come and prove that they actually did conduct a free, fair, credible election. And so in that way, what is happening is that you now ensure that they bring in the material. So every of the polling unit result sheet that they have, that they say this is what they counted, they bring it forward for it to be checked, not for them to decide not to even answer the court when it does not. So that also will be something that will really help. And I think it's this whole issue of leaving the issue of transmission of election to the discretion of INEC, I think it's something that we need to have a rethink about. Those are also going to be legislative changes. There needs to be a situation whereby, let it be mandatory. Let there be electronic transmission of results, real time, as the results are coming right from the polling unit to where the results are going to be collated. Let there be transmission of electronic result. If there's no transmission, of there's anything that stops transmission of the result, then the election should be cancelled. I think we need to, that needs to happen in a way. The other thing also, it's like where you talk about sometimes, because in terms of rigging, they also will bring out the element of violence. We've had situations whereby security agents were actually the ones that were used to disrupt election, that were used to rig election, that were used to come and steal ballot boxes, just like what you have, like the recent Kanu election that happened, where you see now they're trying to upturn the election from the person who actually won. The APC gubernatorial candidate was the one that was accused of stealing ballot boxes during the 2019 election. I think they was even caught on camera, going around stealing, carrying ballot boxes. And we've seen that happen in almost all other states that election have been done. And sometimes you actually see they come with security agents to come and carry these ballot boxes to rig them. So now is to look at how do we also mitigate that. I think the conversation is for us really to continue to have this conversation. Let people, security agents, and even the talks that are being used, let them know that the suffering that everyone is suffering and is as a result of the kind of people who rig their way into office, and they are not giving good governance to the people. And so all of this conversation are things that we continue to have, because we really need to get politics to work in Nigeria if we really want to have a country that works for every one of us. Politics indeed controls everything, and leadership is everything. And if you don't have good leadership, there's no how you are able to get good governance. And if you don't have good governance, there's no how you are able to get development. And if you don't have development, there's no how that the people are going to have a good standard of living. And every one of us, we do deserve that good standard of living, and it's very important for us all to continue to do the things that we need to do to get a country that works for every one of us. Giving up is not an option, because the people who are giving us bad governance are not giving us, and so good must be more tenacious than evil. We must stay on. We must continue to make demands. We must continue to insist on the right thing being done, and we must continue to look for ways to make things better. What we would not do is to do things the illegal way. What we will not do is to use violence or intimidation or any of that. We'll continue to work within the ambit of the law and get a nation that works for every one of us.
Oh yeah, we have carefully gone through the report, and we commend the young man for bringing to the open so many things the National Youth Service Corps has been calling for attention over the years. It's rather worrisome that you will have graduates from higher institutions that cannot express themselves. It's worrisome. Way back 2006, the NYSC raised this alarm when we noticed, even from our own local graduates, that some of them cannot even express themselves. And when we mobilize them from national service and post them to various places of primary assignment, they cannot cope. They cannot even teach the children in primary or secondary schools. And investigation had to be carried out. And we discovered that some student affairs officers in Nigeria, we go and collect money from bread and groundnut sellers and put their names in Senate-approved list for NYSC to mobilize. And when we noticed it, we raised alarm. And the findings were very startling. And since that time, most of the institutions that were concerned had to sanitize their process and punished the officers involved in the process. And that's why we started getting it right in Nigerian core-producing institutions. But the worrisome part is this one from Ghana, Cameroon, Niger, Cotonou, and Benin. If the producer can flash some of the things they are writing, you will begin to wonder if these people are actually graduates of higher institution. It's rather embarrassing. In fact, on the 22nd of November 2023, the Director General convened a meeting of some core-producing institutions in Africa. And we addressed them so that we can sanitize the mobilization process. Most of them, we started this verification exercise in 2019. And we had over 24,000 of them registered to come into the National Youth Service Corps. And when we wanted to do the physical verification, and we told them that if you are caught knowing that you did not go to the university, you are going to be arrested and prosecuted. Like I said, we are not talking about getting into punishing the young man because his revelation is calling for national attention. We are more interested in the content of his discovery rather than the offense committed in this instance. And that's why the federal government is taking the action they are taking. And we salute the action taken by federal government. We are not talking about prosecuting him yet. We're only interested in the procedure. Don't forget that ICT integrated system in any institution or anywhere in the country, or even outside the country, it's not cast on stone. It's evolving. We keep improving on it every day.
Mr. Beko, again, my apologies for jumping in, because I want to stay on the point that you just raised about the ICT system. This is not just an indictment on the NYC, it is an indictment on the education sector as a whole in the country. What lessons are there for the scheme to stop these corrupt officials from infiltrating NYC?
Yeah, that's the first move is what the federal government is doing. And we have been shouting on this for so many years. We have written letter to the NUC, we've written letter to Federal Ministry of Education complaining on this issue. And that was why NYSC had to start subjecting graduates from these institutions to mini tests. And I have sent some to your producer. If you can flash them, let Nigerians see what graduates are writing. And these are people we are sending to go and teach. That's embarrassing. And NYSC, we have also noticed what is going on. Inwardly, we are also checking our own system to ensure that such issue will not happen again.